Direct Connection is made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you. Live from Maryland Public Television, this is Direct Connection with Jeff Salkin.
Hello, I'm Yolanda Vasquez, and thanks for tuning in to Direct Connection. Well, it's that time of year again when holiday eating is at an all-time high. Perhaps you're consuming more calories than you'd care to count. Well, coming up later in the show, we'll speak to a registered dietitian who has some tips on how to avoid overindulging. But up first, looking to make some money moves in 2019? Well, this is the perfect time to get your financial house in order. Joining us now to discuss a few of those strategies is Deborah Owens. She is the CEO and founder of Wealthy You. Deborah, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you here to our studio.
Oh, I'm excited to be here.
Well, I know you're a friend to MPT, so we welcome you back. How about that?
Always a pleasure.
We have a lot to unpack, but I want to first start off by talking a little bit more about your background. 20 years in the financial services industry, MBA, the author of 2 books. What exactly, when you first started doing Wealthy You, what exactly were you hoping to do with that?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I'm so glad you asked that. One of the things that I think we all recognize is that this isn't our parents' economy. We are in what I call a new financial normal. Unlike our parents who had, you know, they worked for 30 years, they got a pension, we're having to manage our own retirement. And so most people have 401ks or 403bs. And so all of the risks for financial security at retirement has sort of been kind of pushed on folks without the requisite knowledge. And so the reason that I started Wealthy You was because oftentimes I would refer people to advisors and 2 things would happen. They either wouldn't go to the appointment, or if they did, they would come back and they would say, oh, well, I didn't understand what he was saying or she was saying. They were talking over my head. And so clearly there's a gap in just knowledge. And then you put the whole emotional and psychological aspects of money and the kind of angst that people have around it. And so the real goal of Wealthy You is really to help people overcome their financial fears. And we do that by increasing their knowledge, teaching them how to invest, how to put together a portfolio, understand the financial markets. So then they can either make decisions on their own, or when they go and sit down with a financial advisor, they actually understand what's being said.
It's interesting, though. You said people, but really you're targeting women, and more specifically women of color, in terms of bridging that wealth gap.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I didn't realize as someone who had been in the industry so long was the kind of angst and the obstacles that there are to getting access. You know, unfortunately, in the financial services industry, what has happened is if you don't have significant assets, sometimes $100,000, $250,000, you really will not get the kind of assistance that you need. And so really one of the things I recognize with that barrier, particularly for women and women of color, is a big hurdle. And so as a result, even when they reach out to pursue taking care of their financial future, they can sometimes come away feeling discouraged. And so that's what Wealthy You is designed. We create customized coaching and workshops and e-courses. We kind of meet people where they are. We do events and try to create a really safe place where people feel comfortable, women feel comfortable, talking with one another about whatever their foibles are, and they then begin to gain the confidence that they need so that they can make decisions and take ownership of their success.
And we all have them. I want to talk a little bit more about the right now, because between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day, we are spending goo-gobs of money. So how do you avoid impulse buying and overspending during this time of year?
I'm making a list, checking it twice. No, and in fact, one of the things I really encourage people to do at this time of year is to really put together a list. One of the things that you can do so that you are not overwhelmed and you don't put yourself and other family members in financial jeopardy, go old school. Pick names. That's something that we did in our family. We had a fairly large family when I was younger, cousins and aunts. You'd pick names and you'd pick a certain limited amount of, whether it's $10 or $25 that you're going to spend on that gift. And so then it's a fun way of everybody feels like they have gotten something, but they don't feel overwhelmed and they haven't sort of overextended themselves in order to, kind of see who's getting the best gift. So I think that's really important. The other thing I want to say for parents is this is a great time of year to connect consumerism with investing. And so if you've got, whether they're young kids, 5 years old or 10 years old or in middle school or high school, now's the time to think about giving kids stock for Christmas. Now you have all kinds of apps that allow you to do that pretty easily. They'll get an email in the mail, an email or a gift certificate, but I think this is a great way to connect that immediate gratification with long-term goals.
And they understand apps indeed. So if you're looking to improve your financial situation, what's the first thing you should do? Because everyone says to write it down. And in fact, you have a greater likelihood of accomplishing it if you write it down. Is that true?
Absolutely. I think the scariest thing is writing it all down. And what I think, what one of the things we do in Wealthy You is the first thing is not to just look at it as a budget. So it's really stepping back from and really deciding what's important to me. So we do this exercise called Sum of Your Values, where we talk about, what's important to you. Is it financial security? Is it sending your kid to college? And really begin to connect that then to goals, right? And then putting a timeline on when you want to achieve that. But what's really, really important is to make them bite-sized, like, if it's 10% of the goal. And then when you reach those milestones, to really reward yourself. So I think health and wealth go together. Very similar to how you achieve, losing weight. One of the most successful programs really is Weight Watchers, because they provide that accountability, whether it's the point system. So I believe that you cannot change what you do not acknowledge. And so to your point, really gaining some clarity about what it is you want to accomplish, and then taking some small steps to get there seems to be the most effective way that we've seen in Wealthy You, where folks have the most success.
We want to remind our viewers to call the number that's listed at the bottom of the screen. We are talking about getting your financial house in order in 2019. Lord knows we all could use a little help. And we've got Deborah Owens right here. So please make sure that you call the number that's listed at the bottom of the screen to ask us some very important questions. And moving on to important questions, from what I understand, this is a good time to shop for insurance, whether it's auto, homeowner, life insurance, even medical insurance right now, health insurance with the open enrollment until December 15th.
Well, I really want to double click on open enrollment, because one of the things that we've noticed at Wealthy You is people aren't really optimizing or leveraging the kind of benefits that they have with their employer, and now's the time to do that. And so this is open enrollment. This is when you have an opportunity to say how much you think you're going to spend, on different medical expenses that aren't covered particularly by your insurance. And so you can have what's called a flexible spending account and have that money set aside before tax. And so really what that is allowing you to do is to save on taxes. I think the other thing at this time of year that's also important, particularly with the new tax law, is not because with the new tax law, standard deductions have went up quite a bit, right? So if you're single, it's $12,000. If you're head of household, it's $18,000. If you're married, it's $24,000. So for many people, they're not going to itemize. And so as a result, if you're, and I think it works in the favor of many people who didn't own homes, didn't take a mortgage interest deduction. And so what people really need to focus on is making sure that you've put the maximum amount in that 401k for the year. I mean, perhaps you didn't max out. Now's the time to really determine that. If you are self-employed or you have any type of self-employed income, now is the time to establish what's called a personal 401k, which if you're a solopreneur, a solo or a husband and wife, you can do that and deduct up to $54,000 a year. And the other thing is for people to really, for IRA deductions, you do have up until April of tax filing of next year, but to really start thinking about what are the things I need to do to position myself so that by then I have enough of the funds set aside so that I can take full advantage.
Let's talk about personal savings goal. This should be a very realistic number, not some ambiguous number. And then how do you solidify your emergency fund? For the longest, I thought they were one and the same. A little extra here that could float into an emergency fund, but they're kind of not, right?
Well, they're not. Well, so here's an emergency fund. Specifically, if you don't have a cash reserve, I mean, things are going to happen, right? So the car's going to need servicing. You might need new tires. I just had an outage in my home that fried the oven, the innards of the oven. So, and it had to be repaired. And so those are the types of things that happen. And if you don't have an adequate emergency account, what you're going to end up doing is having to put it on a credit card. And so as it relates to having a cash reserve account, I really, one of the formulas that has come up is to take the amount that you're earning, right? So let's say if you're earning $70,000, and then you should have 7 months of your expenses in an account. Now, the reason for that is the more money you make, if you were to have a job loss, it will take you longer to find another position. Okay,
we're going to go to the phones right now. We have Susan on the line from Cecil County. Susan, go ahead.
Hi, my question is about life insurance. How much do you need to carry life insurance after your children are out of the house? I mean, rather than wanting to be nice to your kids, how much life insurance and when do you stop carrying life insurance?
Great question.
That's a great question, but it really depends. Typically, when you buy life insurance early on when you're young, you're really, and you have a family, you're really buying that life insurance. So if something were to happen to either of you or your husband, those funds would be available so that your children wouldn't change their lifestyle, right? So as you get older, of course, the cost of insurance, it gets more expensive, particularly if you're buying it at a later age. So what I tell people, what's really important is that you look at your resources, right? So we all only have so much coming in and can afford so much going out. One of the most inexpensive ways of owning life insurance is through your employer, but that is temporary in many cases. But insurance does provide, is one of the few things that the proceeds go to the person inheriting them tax-free. And so as a result, in that case, if you are older, then it's really about estate planning. What kind of financial legacy do you want to leave for your family? And what is the cost? What can you afford?
So you definitely have to take a look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely.
We have a call we're going to try and squeeze in. We have Dale on the line from Carroll County. Dale, go ahead.
Good evening. Do you have a program that would encourage youngsters like high school graduates to start their 401k or their retirement plan?
Yeah, we have lots of programs and lots of books. One of the books that I think is wonderful for folks to read that I wrote is Nickel and Dime Your Way to Wealth.
Yeah, in fact, you're the author of 2 books, and we do have those books there. One of them is, say that again, Nickel and Dime?
Nickel and Dime Your Way to Wealth. So Nickel and Dime Your Way to Wealth, it's about a parking attendant who never earned more than $12 an hour and now has a $500,000 portfolio. It's a quick, easy read, but what it really shows young folks is that you don't need a lot of money, that if you get started early, you have the one thing money can't buy, and that's time.
And we should also mention we had up there A Purse of Your Own, 2 wonderful books. Deborah, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. You have such wonderful information. We didn't have time to talk about some of the testimonials where you're really transforming some people's lives, and I know that you'll keep up that good work.
Yes, but I want to invite viewers, go to our website. They can go to wealthyu.com or deborahowens.com and see the kinds of, I think you should give the gift that keeps on giving, and so we have a number of different things that you could gift to your loved ones that can help them really invest in their financial future.
Deborah, thank you so much. We
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it. Thanks so much. And when we come back, tips to keep your waistline in check this holiday season.
Got an unused vehicle going nowhere? Donate it to the one place that can take you any place. Visit mpt.org/vehicles and support the programs you love on MPT.
The MPT app puts our programs right at your fingertips, so you can choose when to watch, what to watch, wherever you want to watch it. Download it now.
Are you turning 70 and a half this year? If so, you generally have to start spending down your retirement account. Even the minimum distribution can place you in a sticky situation. Luckily, you can now use your IRA to make tax-free gifts. Gifts up to $100,000 will never count as income, but always make a difference. That's icing on the cake.
Make your gift for this year before December 31st. Visit mpt.org/support.
This is a box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box, but the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
In the studio for tonight's health segment, Caroline Meehan. She is a dietitian and nutritionist with University of Maryland Medical Center. Caroline, it's a pleasure to welcome you here to our studio.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So you're the bearer of all bad news. I mean, is it true that people can gain as much as 10 pounds from Thanksgiving to New Year's Day?
Yeah, unfortunately, this time of year, there is a lot more sweets around, heavier foods. We see a lot more heavy cream and butter and sugar. So it can happen.
So what is it about this time of year that makes us overindulge, eat a little extra pie more than we should?
So I think it's a couple things. We certainly have more of the heavy foods around, but I think people also might not be getting as much activity. They're not sleeping as much. Stress can increase this time of year. And then often during the holidays, we see people kind of lose track of their consistent schedule. So the meal patterns might be off. People are skipping meals, saving their calories for the end of the day. But really, we shouldn't be doing that. We should be living a consistent meal pattern and sleep schedule as often as we can throughout the week.
So is there such a thing as a food hangover?
So that can happen if we do overindulge for that celebratory meal. And often it has to do with a lot of added sugar.
I mean, there are times when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, not even having a glass of wine will make me feel as bad as like the 3 extra pieces of cake I had. But so that is something normal that we experience.
Yeah, it can happen. And what I would recommend is going for a walk. That'll help improve blood sugar a bit and hopefully help people feel better.
So is it the excessive sugar? I mean, how do you avoid it when it's everywhere during the holidays?
So I recommend building a balanced plate, and I think that'll help prevent overeating. So that means including a little bit of protein and some fiber, and then definitely getting those vegetables on your plate. And when you're eating your meals, making sure you're having water with your meal and not drinking some type of sugary beverage like soda or tea or juice. And then if you're having a piece of pie, go for it and just stick to one. And know it'll be there maybe the next day if you want to slice again.
So are there any particular foods that you say we should just all out avoid? Sugar, obviously, in moderation.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fried stuff, too many carbs. I feel like I'm a carb girl.
So I really think moderation is key. Okay. And if you are going to have something that's maybe on the heavier side, it's not the healthiest thing in the world, be sure, again, you're getting those vegetables on your plate. You're choosing a little bit of lean protein. And then with your starch, you're keeping it to about 1/4 of your plate or the size of a fist. And really just practicing good portion control with those heavier types of starch foods.
The portion control, the other tip that I learned was to try to fill your plates. You mentioned this a little, veggies.
Yes.
And everything that's like mostly green and not.
Yeah, we want lots of color
not
on the
good
plate.
tasting.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's helpful. Do you get full, are you satiated if you eat that and then maybe you'd be less inclined? Okay.
Yeah, so we want to try to start with the vegetables because veggies and fruits give us good fiber, and fiber keeps us full. So the more fiber in our diet, the more likely we're going to feel satisfied. Protein also helps us keep satisfied, so that's things like chicken and fish, eggs, beans. And then if we go towards the starch last, we tend to not eat as much as if we go for it first.
So you mentioned earlier about not skipping a meal. Why is that so bad during the holiday season? Like I find myself, okay, I won't have lunch because I'm going to the holiday party.
Yeah. So that tends to lead to overeating later on in the day.
Okay, there you go.
Yep, that's the big no-no. So we definitely recommend still having breakfast and lunch, maybe even a couple snacks, practicing good hydration during the day, getting a walk in, and then going to that meal and just acting like it's any other meal. And again, practicing good portion control and enjoying yourself.
What about the idea of going back for seconds, perhaps thirds, all of that? I mean, we all know it's not what you should be doing, but how bad is that for us to do during this time of year?
So if you are going to go back for seconds, I recommend going back for the veggies or maybe some fruit. And, you know, again, if you really want that slice of pie, a second slice, if you have it, try to go for a walk after dinner and you'll probably feel a little bit better.
What about some other tips? Because oftentimes I'll find myself kind of eating what I have and then waiting. Do you feel a little more fuller if you talk to me about that?
Yes, that's a really good point. Mindful eating is super important. So sit down at the table when you're eating your meals, making sure you're taking your time. Ideally, we want to give ourselves about 20 minutes for meal times. And then again, taking it slow. So just sitting down, relaxing, maybe lighting a candle, having friends and family over, and that you'll probably slow down a bit and feel more satisfied.
So with the New Year's right around the corner, obviously that's the big thing for everybody to lose the 10 pounds they gained over the holidays, right? But you do want to be more physically fit, health and wealth, we talked about that. Anything we should do forward thinking about the New Year's, about keeping ourselves together?
So this time of year, definitely want to make small goals. So they should be small and realistic. Nothing too lofty or big. Kind of take it one step at a time. So maybe creating 1 to 2 goals to work on. And again, making them specific. So that could mean I'm going to walk 15 minutes a day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday during my lunch break. Or on Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to make sure I cook a healthy meal for myself. Try to make your goals that are centered around lifestyle versus weight. And I think that is a really good way to go about it.
So what happens if we sort of get stuck in a rut? You know, we're trying to do these things and then we, fall back in very regressive nature of like, gotta have those salt and vinegar potato chips. Like, what do you do at that point?
So one thing to keep in mind is, that can happen. It's all normal and part of the process of making changes. But reach out for help. There's so many supportive communities out there that can help you, whether it's your healthcare team or a friend or a family member that's also trying to make changes. Having a buddy alongside when you're making lifestyle changes can really help just make this a lot more fun and easy.
The accountability factor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that does make a difference. So do you see any food trends in 2019, things that we might be eating more of or seeing more on the grocery store shelves?
So I think one thing that I have noticed, the nutrition facts label now has added sugar on the label. So I think food companies will start to rebrand their products to have less sugar, which is great. I also think there's a big push towards more sustainable and environmentally friendly packaging and products in the supermarket. So we might see more farm-to-table products, more local. And third, I think we'll see a mix of all different types of plant-based proteins and alternative proteins that are coming onto the market. And I think this goes hand in hand with trying to make more environmentally friendly products available to customers.
Did we talked in the green room about food being produced in labs?
Yeah.
What's that about again?
So that is one thing that I have seen in the media, lab-based protein and meat. And who knows if we'll see this in 2019, but it could be out there. Another thing I've seen is bug and insect-based protein powders. So that could be another exotic, kind of weird food trend we will see. But stay tuned.
Stay tuned on that one.
Yeah.
So when your clients come to you, what exactly, is it a wide range of issues that they're trying to resolve to use a dietitian?
Yeah, so I see patients that are coming for diabetes or weight management, heart disease, and we primarily work on making small changes in the right direction, making lifestyle changes, focusing on long-term, no 21-day fixes or 30-day changes. It's all sustainable lifestyle changes.
Well, since you brought that up, let's cover that. There's a lot of like lose weight, quick, fast programs that are going on. You said those are really the worst that you can do, mainly because why?
Yes, we normally don't recommend that. They tend to be very restrictive, and we find that people, if they do embark on these restrictive diets, they tend to regain the weight or maybe gain more back, and it doesn't set the tone for long-term sustainable lifestyle changes. When we're thinking about diets and dieting, we really need to stick to a plan that we're going to stick to for our entire life, and it shouldn't be just kind of a quick thing and then we go back to our old ways.
And you and I were talking about making adjustments along the way, like I crave Diet Coke, but it's really the carbonation from the Diet Coke Coke.
Yes,
So a good alternative is
the flavored sparkling water. Or sparkling water is a really good alternative.
So you have to find those kinds of options for you.
Yeah.
What do you do during the holiday season to make sure you don't overindulge?
So I keep a consistent meal pattern. I think that, again, is super, super important. So making sure you're having breakfast and lunch and maybe a couple snacks and then enjoying your dinner meal. Activity is very important. So getting in walks and maybe getting some fresh air is a really good way to go about it. Sleeping well and stress management. So it's really multifactorial, just taking a little bit of everything and working on it. And know that we're all a work in progress. So if I slip up, that's all normal and part of it.
We've only got a minute or so left. I want to ask you a little bit more about the carb thing because I am curious about that. You hear all the time about stay away from anything white. How bad is that?
Yeah,
so to be eating bread and pasta and rice, is that as bad as they're saying?
It's all about the type of carbohydrate. So when it comes to the white grains, as long as we're primarily doing those in moderation and more so choosing the whole grains. So those are our brown grains like whole wheat pasta, whole wheat bread, brown rice, and oatmeal. If we're choosing those, it's much, much better. More fiber, a little bit more protein, and more heart health benefit.
The last 30 seconds, anything that you would recommend? I mean, if it's cold outside, do some things in the house to compensate for that bag of chips you just ate, right?
Yeah, cleaning, dancing, whatever it might be in the house, you could do something like that. But yeah, staying active, it's not too bad out. I think getting some fresh air is still realistic.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. All right, Caroline Meehan, it was a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm going to have to think twice now when I see that pumpkin pie, or you know what it is for me? It's red velvet cake. That happens to be the thing that I can never say no to. But thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thursday, of course, we'll have Your Money in Business. Make sure you tune in. I'm Yolanda Vasquez. Have a wonderful night, everybody. We'll see you again soon.
Your Health segments are a co-production of Maryland Public Television and the University of Maryland Medical System.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.